Hello, Jessie Reads listeners. Welcome back. In the second part of my conversation with Miss Williams-Garcia, we get into some technical writing tips. The audio may sound a bit static at times. I hope you can still enjoy it.
I noticed that Vanetta, she had an interesting reaction to when her uncle Darnell stole their money that they're saving to go to a concert by the Jackson 5. She was pretty upset, and her sisters were also upset, but later her sisters forgave Uncle Darnell, but she continued to stay angry and be angry with Uncle Darnell. It took her a while before she was going to forgive him. How come Vanetta acted so differently from her sisters?
Well, I think everybody experiences disappointment in very personal ways. And I think that Darnell, her relationship with her uncle was very special. And so when he disappointed her like that, he kind of destroyed that sense of, this is the person who I love, who looks out for me. And when that's taken away from you, you feel abandoned, you feel lost, and you don't know quite where to turn. And so while she does love her sister Delphine, it was always Uncle Darnell who called her Net and who babied her and gave her the kind of love that her mother wasn't there to give her, that maybe she felt her father didn't give her, or Big Ma. He was the one who made her feel a little special. And so when he disappointed her, he broke her heart in ways that she just could not handle. It took her a while.
Thank you for telling me that. In Gone Crazy in Alabama, I didn't understand the first title, like the first chapter. The title was "It Takes a Licking."
It Takes a Licking. That's the title of the first chapter, right? What is you have to refresh my memory. What is the title of the last chapter? Do you have the book in front of you?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, so turn to the last chapter and tell me what is the title before I give my explanation.
I think the last one is Keep on Ticking.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little history lesson. Way back in the 1960s, one of the popular commercials on TV was for the Timex Watch. And their slogan was, "It takes a licking and it keeps on ticking." And we know that Delphine always has on her Timex Watch. So, this is not something that I expect you to know, but it's kind of what we call an Easter egg. It's kind of a side or inside knowledge that maybe someone else, like in this case, an older person might know, simply because they're around my age and they've been around and they heard that slogan. So what that really is Delphine's watch is not just a watch, but it is kind of a symbol. What in writers' terms, we call that an endowed object. An endowed object has magic. It has purpose beyond just being a watch. And so in most cases, it mirrors the main character. So we know that Delphine is very responsible, and that she's had a lot of disappointment in her life. And so It Takes a Licking is talking about all of the things that Delphine has gone through and that she will go through. And then by the end, and it keeps on ticking, it's to give us hope that Delphine, her sisters, her family, that everybody will be all right. Their lives will go on and they will be all right. So that's a really good question. But yes, those are definitely author craft kinds of things that I did, devices that I used in just kind of setting up the story.
That's very cool. Thanks for telling me that.
Well, think about that. One of these that, when you're writing a story with a lot about your character, and you're writing, say maybe, your story might be 1,000 words or so. Think about if there is an object that is close to the character. And how is that object close to the character? Is it a ball, or does it mean something else? Because balls bounce, and maybe people bounce back. So think about that. You're going to be thinking like a writer.
Thank you. Finally, how do you approach a book when you decide to write one?
Very good. Very good question.
My mom tells me that it's important to create an outline, and before you write like an essay. Do you write outlines?
Okay, so I do a lot of different things. The first thing that I do is I daydream. I let my mind wander. I really try to open my imagination, and I ask myself, what if this happened to my character? How would he or she react? What if that happened? Oh, what if that happens? Now, where do I want my character to go? What if this happens to them while they're on their way to getting there? So, one of the things that I do is I create a map that kind of sets up a journey for my character. This is where we meet them when they start. These are the things that they go through along the way, the people that they meet, and the importance of those other characters, and this is how they get to where they're going. So I have a kind of a story map of beginning and all the things that happen in between and the end. So that's one of the things that I do. Another thing that I do is I tell myself the story. So I said first I daydream. Well, a lot of those daydreams turned into things that's going to actually happen in the story. So then the first thing that I do is I just sit down and I tell myself, this is what the story is about, and this is what's going to happen in the story. Then thereafter, when I'm really starting to write, then I make an outline, and those and I try to kind of think about what will be the chapters, or if it's a short story, what are all the little points along the way that I'm going to hit. So that way I feel like, oh, I'm not lost in space. I feel like I have direction. So those are the kinds of things that I do when I'm thinking about a story. And then the other part is research, especially if I'm writing about something that I don't know anything about. So then I do some research so that I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
That's some good advice for I'm writing. Miss Williams-Garcia, it's been an honor to talk to you. I hope we can keep in touch. And do you have any last words for my audience?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, it's been an honor and a privilege to meet you at this stage of your career. One of these days, in a few years or so, I might be attending an award ceremony, and it might be in your honor, and I can say, oh, I remember she interviewed me, and now look at her, she's getting the Nobel Prize for Literature, and I'll be all teary and everything. These kinds of things do happen, so it's not make-believe, it's not far-fetched. A lot of my students go on to achieve the heights in literature, so but I would like to just tell your listeners to continue to explore and have fun, because all of those little things that you're doing out there, you never know, they can become part of your story. So just write a little bit every day, and before you know it, you've written a lot. You've written a story.
Thank you so much for talking with me.
You are so welcome.
Bye.